Hey everyone, it's Race Robinson and
Janelle Ferrer with Waypoint Realty.
We're here we're the real estate pros. We're on our inaugural Facebook Live
Woohoo!
show here. So
excuse if we're a little clumsy or
yeah, it may not be the perfect production, but you got the perfect people doing the program.
That's
here. So let's talk about why we actually kind of wanted to do this. We talked about it and brainstormed a little bit about on it. You know, what our goal is to get some of the information out there to buyers and different things that all the market changes all the time, and just a way to kind of keep them current with what's going on.
Yeah, and a lot of the things we wanted to do was bring topics that are interesting to you guys, things that we're hearing in the comments from you guys that you guys want to hear about with the market. We're located in Central Florida, and that's kind of our niche market. That's our focus, and we love living here, and so we are here to talk about what is happening in this market and how we can help you guys navigate through the different obstacles that we're seeing that's going on.
Yeah.
One of them is...
Well, I guess the big thing right now is probably the lack of inventory. Which would come right down your alley.
Yes. And I'm sure if any of you guys have been out there hunting for homes, you guys know that inventory has been going like this. And so we saw last year there were about 10,000 homes, about 10,500 homes on average per month.
Which was low then.
Which was low then. And it was really hard to find buyers the perfect home. And so it's at about 8,200 now. So,
is it that low?
That's low.
Okay, that's low.
And so it's low. I know it's going to pick up in the summer. I'm anticipating that it's going to pick up in the summer. But right now, you guys are experiencing it. It's a struggle. And I know I have so many buyers that are constantly on Realtor.com or Zillow.com, and they're sending me homes, and I'm like, it's under contract. So.
And with Zillow, you know, we're not going to do a whole thing on Zillow this time, but you know, with low inventory, it's probably more important that you've got an agent that's getting your real-time inventory, because Zillow's a little bit behind the eight ball.
It sure is.
You know, as you know.
And so, I mean, when I send clients the houses and stuff to look at, they're not finding what they like, but then they send me properties. I'm like, that would have come up in the search, I promise. And it's just not there. So It is frustrating. So we kind of wanted to tap into that because that's something that clearly everybody's experiencing. And so really working with a realtor, whether it's through Waypoint Realty or whatever brokerage you guys have a relationship with, it's making sure you guys are choosing people who know the market, are on top of it, and can get you properties as soon as they come out. And so with that, let's talk about what the asking prices are and from a lender's perspective.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what Janelle said, is even more important when you have a lack of inventory, you have really picky sellers as far as the time frames and speed. So you really have to get fully pre-approved up front. You've got to do all the stuff up front before you go buy, because once the clock starts ticking, a lot of things happen fast. So probably from both of our standpoint, what we see with the lack of inventory is just the pricing, the competitiveness, and I mean probably
multiple offers.
Yeah, every
everywhere.
buyer I pre-approved probably has 5 or 6 offers maybe on every house.
I experienced one last week that had 14 offers. I said, thank you for your time. We're not even going to bother, because he was already at the top of my buyer's price range. So we're seeing that a lot, and it's hard. And just rule of thumb, and our buyers have seen this, we got cash offers is usually the first one. Doesn't matter if it's way over or if it's like right under, because they don't need
cash is king.
Yeah,
it's
cash is
king.
So there's nothing we can do to help you guys compete against that, because it really is ultimately up to the sellers. And then usually comes conventional, even though Race can talk about FHA and the benefits of having that, but sometimes what listing agents are advising the sellers to choose, really FHA looks like at the bottom of the totem pole sometimes with VA loans as well. So
yeah, and I mean, really, it doesn't matter the reality. There are FHA buyers that are really strong, but the market says, or the belief is, that conventional offers are the strongest. So when we pre-approve somebody, that's the first thing we're going to look at is, can we get you approved as a conventional loan?
Right.
And there really is a lot of advantages to going conventional, and that's something that we talk about at that time. But the biggest thing I see that the lack of inventory affecting is, one, you know, going and offering over, especially in this market where you do have to compete against other offers, and it is hard especially if you're a first-time home buyer, where you see someone asking 200 and the house ends up going at 210. The other thing is the appraisals. So that's kind of the bane of everybody's existence. And so and I'll take the appraisal part here. As far as this, the way it works, from really, you don't pick the appraiser, the realtor doesn't pick the realtor.
We don't know the appraiser.
Really, the mortgage lender or mortgage broker is not, the bank is not picking the appraiser.
Right.
They're picked randomly through a management company.
Now, why? Can you go back in time?
That's all the way back to the Frank Dodd bill and all the changes and the mortgage reform, where they really don't want any outside influence on the appraisal, which I actually agree with the concept behind that, because really want a good, fair appraisal. And some of the changes, not most of them, but some of the changes I actually do agree with. The only problem with that is that the appraisers now make less money. The management companies kind of create a layer between the appraiser, and they're doing a lot more appraisals, and there's really no accountability. So you can get low appraisals, and there's really not a lot to do with it if you can't. You know, if you get a low one, you really just kind of stuck with it.
And I do recommend also choosing local lenders, because I've worked with lenders that are outside that buyers have found, and they're in completely different cities and counties far away from Central Florida. And what happens is the appraisal companies that they typically work with, they're third party, they don't know them, but they're typically local to them. And so when those appraisers come out to our areas, they don't know our market. They don't know the properties. And so I've lost deals based on appraisers that have been out of town, do not understand the community.
2 blocks away, it's a totally different market.
It is. It's very different. And so, you know, I work a lot of Seminole County, and so we have a lot of rural properties and a lot of suburbia. So rural properties an appraiser can't go in there assuming that they're looking at suburban areas when they're in a rural property, rural land. So that's the other thing with appraisals. And if you want to continue on that, then I'm going to jump into what's happening with offers.
Okay, yeah. Well, so on the appraisal, the appraisers, though, you know, they do have a tough job. And so, you know, as the market steps up, and, you know, the market's been pretty healthy over the last few years, so you see the market, they really are always looking at the market in a rearview mirror. So they do have a tough job, because they can't take into account where the market's going, only where it's been. So you will get some, you know, right now we are getting low appraisals. I mean, as you know, and that obviously affects when you're buying a house if the house doesn't appraise for what you're paying for it.
The lowest one was $75,000. That's the lowest I've ever had, and that was insane. Trying to negotiate that difference, that's
a big difference.
It's a big difference.
And if it's that low, it's probably into the line as far as and maybe
it wasn't. It worked out.
Well,
it was amazing. It worked out, but we also really disagreed with the appraisal. They were taking properties that, again, were not relative to that land. I mean, appraisers make mistakes. You can have 3 appraisers appraise the same property and come up with 3 different values. So again, but that's also why we have to be very hands-off. That's why, you know, mortgage lenders, that's why they don't have contact with the appraisers, because we don't want to sway their opinion. And sellers, of course, would love to, and buyers would, both in their direction. So,
but don't be scared. I mean, in this market, you do end up a lot of times paying over, and don't think of it as the price. It's just an asking price. And so, like I have one right now where the buyer went $15,000 over, and I was explaining to him, and this appraisal got accepted, that if you offer the house, the bank cares more than you do, because it's mainly their money for the most part. So not only do you have to have a third-party appraiser come in, you've got to get an underwriter to write off on it, and Fannie and Freddie Mac and FHL have automated systems that also have to agree with the appraiser. So by the time that appraisal is green-lighted at whatever price you've paid, the bank feels 100% confident that there's justification for that price.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he said, there's people that are going significantly over. Now remember, a home is only as worth as someone's willing to pay for it. And so an appraiser knows that. They will never look at pending properties. They'll glance at them, but they don't take those into consideration when they complete an appraisal. So that's something that you need to keep in mind when, even as, you know, mostly sold. So when listing agents, the price, they're like, oh, well, this one's on the market, but until it closes, it doesn't mean anything to us. So it's really important to understand that the price that we offer, many times buyers, they get desperate and they want to go way above asking, but we know that it's going to bite us in the butt later, because the appraisal is just going to come in way lower. So
and that is where you do need a good realtor, because it's a tricky market where you do probably have to ask over, but you don't want to be so far over where they don't trust that you're even really given a legitimate offer, and you're being a little disingenuous about you're not going to pay. You know, so you kind of got to have somebody guiding you that knows the market, does their research, and helps guide you, like, what's going to be a really good offer to get this property.
And that's a great point. I've actually spoken with agents when I've submitted offers that they've chosen our offer because they said, you're the only one that wasn't ridiculous. We submitted a lot of times. Something that's really great is having my buyers write a letter. So if you are working with another agent and you really want a home, write a letter that your agent can submit to the sellers.
That's a great idea.
That kind of show that you're human past a contract that's being submitted. sellers are more prone to choosing actual home buyers than they are to investors. And so it gives them that personality where you're more than a piece of paper, which is like what I equate resumes. Resumes, nobody knows you, but if you're in person, if you're doing a video resume, now they get a little bit more personality. So the same thing applies when putting an offer on a house. It makes you stand out. And when your agent's working for you, you know, not only are they submitting that, an offer that's fair to the seller, so, you know, and to the buyer in this kind of market that you know has a really good chance of standing for the appraisal. The appraisal really can make or break a deal.
Yeah, and a little personality with the letter about, you know, motivation and who they
why
are.
You're buying a house and, you know, all that good stuff in the area. If you have children, why that would be a great property and little touches that you love that the sellers did.
Now, another thing that adds to that just reminded me that we've been doing over the last year since the market's been so competitive, if you take the time to get fully pre-approved up front, which honestly, that's the only way we'll do. We will not write you an approval letter unless we know that we can actually get you to closing, which is good. You don't want to lose your deposit and your escrow and appraisal and all that kind of stuff. So when you get your offer accepted, or when you put your offer in there to try to get accepted, we actually do reach out to the listing agent and ask them, is there any questions they have on the approval process that we put our buyers? Because if they have 7 or 8 offers and yours is the only one that they're hearing from the lender saying, hey, what questions? Because they know at the end of the day, the loan is what dictates if this is going to close or not, unless it's cash. So that letter, and then maybe having the lender call and say, hey, these people are good, what questions do you have? That really makes a big difference on making their offer stand out.
And you're absolutely right. So having your agent send the MLS overview of the property to your lender can have them reach out immediately and say, listen, I know you received their offer, I know you have a lot of offers on the plate, but let me tell you a little bit about our company and how we can get this closing, and a little bit about the buyer. And it's just someone else who's an advocate for the buyers, because that's really what's happening. And it helps the seller understand, okay, I feel more confident with the specific offer because spoken to the lender and I feel that they're a credible, viable source. And I mean, the whole thing is that a buyer wants to buy a house, a seller wants to sell their home, and they want to get it at the fair price, both of them, and be able to do it on time.
And the mortgage companies want to lend on the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Believe it or not.
And a realtor wants to help make this happen. So it's a win-win-win situation. We just got to find that win.
Yeah. And experience does matter. I've been doing this for 17 years. You've been doing, I don't know, 10.
Yeah.
So it is a dance right now with the market and with the inventory and with the lending process being a little tougher, you know, as far as all the requirements and compliance and whatever. You do need someone walking you through this process to not only get your offer accepted, get closed. And when you say that there's a lot of pressure right now because the sellers are wanting to have a tighter and tighter closing time where, you know, they're like, close it tomorrow. We want to accept your offer. And that also makes it tough and stressful through the whole process because you have a constricted amount of time to try to get these closed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, time is of the essence. When they look at the terms as well, they're looking at your inspection period, like how long. If you're going to draw it out to the full 15 days, you're already at a disadvantage. So try to even lower that. Definitely talk with your lender about what you can do. Can they do 30 days? It's not you, it's them. But with that, I want to talk about being responsive with your lender. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, time is of the essence in this entire process.
Yeah, I would say probably, and I was a realtor many, many years ago, the biggest complaints real estate agents have is lenders missing the closing date. That's probably, other than maybe not communicating, they don't know what's going on, they want to make the closing date.
Right.
And so if you think about it, a 30-day closing is really maybe 23 business days or so in that ballpark. There's a lot to have happen. My son started with me recently. He's like, Dad, I thought these people just came in like a credit card and you rang it up and they left with a house.
Yeah, not
so
much.
It doesn't quite work that way.
Right.
But there's a ton that has to happen between survey, title, getting insurance, underwriting. And then the underwriting, you know, usually a 2-step process to get your original approval, clear to close, getting your insurance. So a lot has to happen.
Right.
And when I meet with buyers up front, they're always asking me, well, what will be the biggest reason why we wouldn't make our closing date? And the answer is always, you guys, jokingly. But the truth is, they have a life, right? You're working, kids, and there's this amount of time, and we might say, hey, we want this stuff today. In your mind, today means today, tomorrow, the next day, or after the weekend. And the challenge is, it's a very now thing.
Right.
So when you have a 30-day closing, if that ends up, and it does end up sometimes going that way, everybody has to be on board, from the realtors to the lender to the buyers especially. So, and the responsiveness is probably the biggest.
It's the biggest
issue,
thing.
yeah.
And I always tell my clients, I'm like, I'll work as fast as you are. I'll go as fast as you. You want to go slower through the process? We'll go slower through the process. But what happens is, it's like a time on. As soon as you get an offer accepted, I'm like, okay, we've got 3 days to put the escrow deposit down. And from there, getting the inspection period. And from there, giving the okay to the lender. Inspection went well. And then them ordering the appraisal. I mean, it really is a timeline that we've got to keep tight. But your responsiveness to how quick you'll respond, we get it. You guys have jobs. You guys are busy, especially if you guys have jobs that don't allow you to be online. I mean, we're connected to our phones all the time, so that's part of our job. So I know, fortunately, unfortunately.
I say the real estate market really never closes.
It doesn't. I feel like we're 7 days a week just at my own schedule, but it does. Like, we're constantly on our phones. So we understand that you guys have your jobs, but as soon as you can get that response back, and the quicker and the more prepared, the better that we can help you guys through this entire process. So it really is about responsiveness.
Yeah, and again, piggyback on that, it's all about the upfront, which is, everybody's preaching. There's a lot of pressure for banks and lenders to just get you started, and then as you go along, then make you realize, whoa, there's a lot of documents that they need. Yeah. And you really want to go the other way. I try to be really straightforward with my clients and say, we need all this stuff up front because you don't want to be providing this once the timeline starts.
Exactly, so which really, is great.
Yeah. So that's.
Do you have it on your website? Checklist of all the things they should have ready?
Yeah. And even on our online application. So and I love technology, love Facebook Live and all these things, but I still find you have to have human beings involved in the process, which is why we have loan partners and stuff that are talking to you and going over what you need, so that it's just not a list on a piece of paper, but you can ask questions. And we're also preaching that sense of urgency, like, hey, we need to get this, and here's how we can help you get it. So kind of walk you through the process.
Yeah. And our goal is for this show never to be more than 20 minutes. We want to kind of give you guys something. It's been 16 minutes. So keep it a time. Because we know that your attention span is limited, and we want to just give you guys what you guys need, give you some advice, and then pull out and let you guys do what you guys want to do. We want to hear what you guys want to hear. We want to get your feedback from this. We've got a lot of really cool topics that we're going to be talking about. And we want to kind of do this every other week around the same time.
We want to kind of theme it to we already know some of the big things, like people have questions on Zillow and appraisal, how does appraisal actually come with a value, credit, all these different things that loan programs, but we want to hear from you. So if you've got an idea of what you think would be a great topic, definitely reach out and let us know.
That would be awesome. So again, we are your real estate pros with Janelle and
Race Robinson.
Bye, guys.
You're supposed to say your last name.
Oh, Ferrer! Waypoint Realty and with
Mid-Florida Mortgage Professionals.
All right, guys, we're here to help you guys, so we'd love to hear some feedback.
Right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.